Everybody, this is Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert, a NASCAR and racing podcast. Recapped all the Nashville action on the first episode of the week. So much racing to go over. We have 2 episodes. Please check out our full-length interview with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on our first episode from this week as well. For this one, we look at the drivers we will all have our eyes peeled for in Michigan as ARCA, Trucks, and Cup will all get ready to run in the Irish Hills. Interview with driver Leland Honeyman Jr., Fast Davey's bets, discussions with Dave, NASCAR History Time, paint scheme of the week, predictions for Michigan, and so much more on this episode of Splash of Gas. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at disneydavew@verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Now for trivia question time. This episode's question is, Cal Yarborough won the first Cup Series race at Michigan International Speedway in June of 1996. Who is the first driver to win back-to-back Cup Series races in Michigan? Answer coming at the end. Now for discussions with Dave. A driver where we've been paying attention to a lot to where he's going to go for next year, and that's last year's Truck Series champion who's on a part-time Cup schedule and Truck schedule with Tricon Garage, and of course 2311, where Corey Heim is currently still a development driver for them. He's been with that organization since 2024. Was recently announced this week that Corey Heim for 2027, just like we've been speculating, will be full-time in the Cup Series. And thank gosh, this is probably a year behind schedule, just with how quick Heim is acclimated to the Cup car, and of course his success on the Truck Series. Corey has won 25 Truck Series races since 2022. That ranks 5th all-time on the Truck Series. And of course, Heim's resume that he's built up with all these wins in recent years in the trucks is just enough evidence alone to get him promoted. But one thing that surprised me when Tyler Reddick was in his 5-race win streak, Reddick credited Corey Heim, who was their simulator driver, testing all the Cup Series setups in their simulator. Reddick credited Corey Heim with a key to their success. So really think that says a lot. Corey's picking up on the Cup Series side of things. And with his time already behind the wheel of a 2311 Cup car last season, this season, I don't see why Corey Heim isn't winning a Cup Series race next year. And long term, and especially the way 2311 right now is directioned, Heim's going to be competing for a Cup Series championship. And of course, as one door opens, another one closes, Heim will be taking the seat of Riley Herbst. Riley, we've had on the show before, is in his second full-time Cup Series season and runs for 2311. Now, of course, with knowing where Heim's going, now the question turns to, where is Herbst going to race in 2027? Does he swallow the pill, take a step down into the O'Reilly Series where we've seen him in victory lane before? Or are there other options for him at Team Toyota? Of course, Joe Gibbs' stables is pretty much filled, as we know. Not going to be any changes over there. But with the charter still up in the air from Rick Ware leasing it to RFK. Legacy Motor Club on paper has purchased that charter for 2027, and yes, that needs to get ironed out specifically how that falls. But the way it's looking, Legacy would have a third full-time car in the Cup Series next year, and everyone is saying that that's where Herbst would go. Of course, Petty Motorsports eventually does turn into Legacy, and likes of Jimmy Johnson now helping to run that organization. That organization is trending upward, and last year, this year, Eric Jones, John Hunter Nemechek are putting together more and more solid finishes and running towards the front. And for someone like Riley that takes a little bit longer for the fruit to get ripe, like we saw in the O'Reilly series, the amount of races that he ran to eventually get into victory lane, more seat time running full time is only going to get you better. And I do think Legacy would be a perfect fit for Riley. When it rains, it pours on the silly season side, just like Heim, a guy we've been talking a lot more recently, is Nick Sanchez. Over the offseason, we got the surprising news that Sanchez was being replaced in the 48 on the O'Reilly series by Dr. Patrick Staropoli. Nick was running for AM Racing, but ever since Rockingham, that team has closed shop. Was announced this week that 4 of the next 6 races on the O'Reilly series, Sanchez will be piloting the number 87 Chevy for Peterson Racing. Austin Green has been running this car full time. Did see that car show out in Talladega. What can Sanchez do in it, as he'll be behind the wheel for Pocono, Chicagoland, Atlanta, and Indianapolis? Next topic on Discussions with Dave, Part 1. Young Connor Zilich's struggles on the Cup Series. With all the wins that Connor Zilich got last year on the O'Reilly Series side, making the jump to Cup Series was a no-brainer. Yes, of course, in the sport's most competitive stage, coming in teenager in the 20s, it's going to be difficult, 100%. With the way that Zilich excelled right from the jump in the trucks, in the O'Reilly, at least on the road courses for the Cup Series. And yes, he's only driven in 2 road courses in the Cup Series right now, but also the way that he was just dominating oval races last year on the O'Reilly car. I did think it would take time for Zilich to find victory lane at the Cup level, but I did not think Connor finding success at the Cup level would take this long. And yes, still so much of the season to play out. And just like I said from the beginning, this is his first go-around in the Cup Series. But 13 oval races into the year, and his best finish being at Texas, which was P16, and he does have the highlight at COTA, P14 at the beginning of the year. And with the wins that Trackhouse have racked up in the past several years, I definitely expected the sailing for Connor Zilich at the Cup level to go a little bit smoother. Right now, he sits second to last, 34th in the Cup Series standings, right in front of Cody Ware, Cole Custer, Alex Bowman, Josh Berry, Ty Dillon all sit in front of him. But still, nonetheless, heck, even Kyle Busch didn't win his first Cup Series race until towards the end of the year in his first season. I don't think Zilich is going to get a win on the Cup Series level this year, but NASCAR is still Connor Zilich's oyster, and he's going to be in the sport for a long time. He's only going to get better. And that wraps up Discussions with Dave, Part 1. Now for NASCAR History Time, Michigan, August 16th, 1981. The Champion Spark Plug 400 delivered some tight, competitive racing, with Richard Petty, the king, powering the number 43 to victory lane. Ricky Rudd finished third, Harry Gant came home fourth, and Bobby Allison rounded out the top of the contenders in seventh. The race also marked an early milestone for Dale Earnhardt, who in his first start with Richard Childress Racing brought home that car in ninth place. June 20th, 2004. Ryan Newman, the Rocket Man, delivered a memorable Father's Day moment, winning the DHL 400 at Michigan and dedicating the win to his father, Greg Newman. The triumph marked Newman's second straight win at the 2-mile oval, further highlighting Newman's dominance on the high-speed tracks and making the celebration even more special for the Newman family. August 7th, 2022. Kevin Harvick snapped his 65-race winless streak in dominant fashion at Michigan, driving his number 4 machine to a convincing 2.9-second victory over the second-place driver. The win marked Harvick's 6th career Cup Series win at Michigan and served as a powerful reminder that the veteran still had plenty in the tank. Now for Paint Scheme of the Week. And heck, this driver, he's going to be the Grand Marshal for the truck race on Saturday. And he's driving the Ford for Nice Motorsports. And that is Cletus McFarland. Great to see Cleet back at the track. And boy, is this Ford Chevy patriotic or what? The Flying Eagle on the side of his truck, big wings, American flag, red, white, and blue. This truck is bad to the bone. Now for Discussions with Dave, Part 2. Eyes on the 33. Since the unfortunate passing of Kyle Busch, as we know, RCR has retired the number 8, and Austin Hill has been filling in that second entry, which has been the 33 car. Right now, for Michigan, there are 37 Cup Series entries, and Austin Hill is one of them, again in the 33. Like I've said, I'm assuming Hill will be piloting that 33 for a majority of the year. Do they give their other O'Reilly driver who won the championship last year, Jesse Love, some opportunities in that car too? But we'll keep you posted on that. Moving right along, we've been keeping you up to date who's driving the All-Star truck for Ram for Colleague Racing, the 25. And for IRP, when NASCAR goes out to Indianapolis in the summer, Connor Daly, Indy 500 champ, will be driving the 25 in that one. Super cool to see Daly from IndyCar in a truck. Great to see Alex Bowman back in the 48 for Hendrick Motorsports after his issues with vertigo. Bowman was interviewed by Prime, part of the broadcast, and Alex Bowman said he's as close to 100% as he's going to get. When he initially made those comments, I didn't really sound too much out of the ordinary for me, but I started thinking about it, kind of started scratching my head. As close to 100% as I'm going to get. Does that mean he's... How far away to 100% is Alex Bowman, health-wise? Is he at 99 or is he at 70 to, 75%? At the Cup Series level, you need to be, as we know, on top of your game. And of course, the health issues for Bowman being in a contract year couldn't come at a worse time for him. Really puts him in the bottom of the standings, as we were just mentioning his name in the standings a little bit ahead of Connor Zilisch. But truthfully, and being 100% honest, I do not see in any world where Alex Bowman is back at Hendrick Motorsports next year. Bowman would realistically need to win. When he won in Chicago streets, and I didn't realize this at the time. Tommy Baldwin has been very vocal about this. If Bowman does not win that race, he is out at Hendrick Motorsports in 2024. Not coming back. I think he used his card on that one. Bowman's going to realistically need to win 2 or 3 races the remainder of the Cup Series season to have a chance to bring those sponsors back with him for 2027. We'll keep you posted on that. Now we bring our next guest on the show, and that's driver Leland Honeyman. Really had a great conversation with Leland. He had a lot to share about the different series he's been running recently. Great insight to that. Here's what Leland had to say. Next driver we bring on the Splash of Gas is driver Leland Honeyman Jr. Thanks for joining the show, Leland.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, of course. Before we get into the recent action, you're from Glendale, Arizona. You start racing at a very young age, and at 10 you moved to North Carolina. What was it like for you racing at a young age?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, I got started at 4 years old, and I started off in off-road trophy trucks. So for me, it was definitely was. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just driving and having fun, and I love smashing the loud pedal. So for me as a kid, I always loved going fast and whatever it was. I grew up going to Glamis and stuff as a kid, so riding like 4-wheelers and quads and stuff and dirt bikes, and it was always cool for me. So it was easy for me to get the hang of going fast in a race car at a very young age. And I think the biggest thing was keeping me on the track and in between the lines and where to go. So I was young. I really didn't know where I was going half the time, but I still made it work, and won a bunch of races. So that was still cool. But no, getting started at a young age is very I think it's very crucial for the sport, right? Like a lot of kids start young, and my dad got me started young, and I feel like it's worked out pretty well. So I'm very thankful for getting started that young.
Yeah, all about having fun as well. I appreciate you touching upon that. And I didn't realize until recently that fellow Arizonan Cup Series driver Michael McDowell has helped you along your climb through racing and motorsports. What has his relationship with him and his family been like for you?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like we're close by any means. It's more of my dad and his brother have done some business together in the past, and
okay.
His brother has helped guide us in the right direction, talking through Michael and stuff. And when Michael was building GoPro Motorplex here in Mooresville, North Carolina, which is now Trackhouse Motorplex, he was telling my dad to come out and get me in the go-kart stuff. And well, first off, we were running off-road trophy trucks at like 6 years old, and my dad was doing some work for Michael's brother, and he didn't really know where the next steps were, and he was talking to Michael's brother, and he gave Michael a text or a call apparently, and he said sell the off-road trophy truck stuff and do go-karts. So we did that, and then after a couple of years, we won some races. I got good. We traveled a little bit, and then we were like, all right, what's the next steps? And he said, move to North Carolina. We're building GoPro Motorplex, and that really went from there. And we just packed up all of our stuff and moved out to North Carolina. So it kind of was the next steps for us. So we came out here, and the day we got here, we unloaded our trailer, put our go-kart stuff in it, which we had shipped out because we had all of our furniture in our race trailer. And so we unloaded all of our furniture, and the same night we headed to Florida for the Florida Winter Tour. And my racing career, I guess, kind of just took off from there, right? From moving to Mooresville, you just get connected with a bunch of people, and it just kind of seems to go its own way.
That's a really neat story. I appreciate touching upon that, and that's a racing family for you for sure. Have seen you run at Florence before. A huge fan of super late models and late model racing myself. How was it running late models at short tracks, and how did that help you make the jump into ARCA eventually?
Yeah, for sure. I got started in Florence. I ran the Carolina Pro Late Model Series for a while in 2021. We ran there, I think, once. I don't think we went there twice, but I ran there once. I think I finished like second or third, and we just kept running some. That was in a pro late model car, and then we just kind of kept running, and then we kind of just got put over at Young's through one of my development guys. He put me over at Tyler Young's, and got started there when I was 16, I think, when I signed my deal over there, and then ended off over there at 17 years old, just racing some ARCA stuff, and we got a pole there and ran top 5 pretty much everywhere we went in the ARCA stuff for my first year, so I thought I was pretty good. And in 23, we went to go do some Xfinity stuff with Alpha Prime, but no, I actually recently went back to Florence in 2024. I say recently, but that was I guess a year and a half ago. But
that's when I saw you run the 400 there.
Yeah, we did the 250, I do believe it was, the limited late model race.
Oh,
and
okay.
Then my dad was like, we ran the 250, and honestly, we should have won it. I got nose damage, like I barely touched someone, and my hood like propped up, and I couldn't see, and so I basically had my spotter spotting for me out front, so because I couldn't see anything. But I think we still finished like 5th or something, and that was kind of a bigger race. I mean, some of the late model stock guys ran it, and then we're like, all right, well, we ran good there, so we should be completely fine. Like the guy that I think won it, he runs really good in the 400, so we're like, all right, no problem. And so we ran the 400. I think there was like 40 or 50, 45, 50 cars or something in the 400 that started, or like that
huge car
going to enter. Yeah, and so it was my first late model stock race in a very, very long time. So I think since 2019, from 2024 to 2019, yeah. So very long time. And so we did that, and then I think I was like 38th in practice and just trying to get used to everything. And we had the car set up. We just swapped the carburetors, obviously, because that's all it was. And I think we struggled with balance just because of power and stuff, just because we were, going off of the limited late model with less power. And then we went to late model stock, and it was kind of frustrating in practice and qualifying. And then we got to the heat races, and we finally found where we needed to be. And I think we drove from like 12th to 2nd or something like that. And then we started like 33rd for the race, and then drove to like 8th and got in an accident, and then went to the back, and then drove back again. And it was a mess that night, but there was a lot going on. Thought we still ran really, really well. I think we finished like 13th or something. So it was not a bad night. Made me want to run some more late model stock stuff. And I definitely want to get back to it. That's for sure.
Got it. Thank you so much for going over the late model stuff. I definitely love being at the local short tracks, and that was always a long night in Florence for the 400. But thanks for breaking that down. And you mentioned ARCA, and then 2023 getting into the O'Reilly Series, and the following year you run the full season with Young's Motorsports, much longer season and a full O'Reilly Series, as you know. You're 4th in Talladega in the spring, 9th in the summer Daytona race, including 6 top 15s throughout the year. What was the biggest learning curve for you running the full season in 24?
Yeah, obviously, being super young, going into the season, my rookie season, right? It definitely was. It was very long for me. I haven't ran anything like that in a long time, just because of funding and stuff. And we finally, got some sponsors put together to where we could run a full season. And, I couldn't thank everyone enough that has, done it a lot. They've done a lot for me to where I've been able to, go and have the opportunity to run full time. And, honestly, I didn't think that I was ever going to be able to do it. So, I took advantage of it, and I tried my best. And obviously I had some mistakes along the way, and, there's a couple super speedway races that I thought I could have won, but I didn't prepare enough, I would say, just because I didn't know. Not I didn't prepare enough. I just didn't know what to expect. I've never, we weren't a running team, but we did have really good runs on the super speedway. So for me, when I ran up front, I think I just kind of got left out to dry a couple times, and they didn't see my name up there a lot. So not a lot of people, I guess, trusted, me. They don't see like a Sammy Smith or a Amarola on the back of the windshield or the rear window, and they're like, oh, well, who's this guy, right? So I think for me, it definitely was a learning experience and just building on from 2024 to go into 2025. So definitely a good year to learn and just take it all in and stuff. So
Thank you for being honest. Definitely, rookie year, running that full schedule, definitely ups and downs, but appreciate you being honest on that. Last year, 18 races you run with Cope Family Racing, and then including DGM this year, you've obviously raced for several different teams that you were just going over. How are you able to adapt working with new faces, well, at the shop and then at the track?
Yeah, with DGM, I ran with them last year at the Rollville race, and I met a bunch of the people there, but just seeing them around at the track and stuff, like it definitely helps, right? When you're around and you meet people, you just kind of know. And for me, I feel like we adapted pretty quickly, and one weekend for me is enough I feel like to get to know everyone, just because I'm an open person, right? Like I like talking to people and meeting new people. So, it definitely was easy to pick up on. But I felt like so far this year we've ran really good, right? Charlotte 15th, and that was my first time in a car, first laps in a race car in I think 7 or 8 months. So not bad for our first run out together. And we went to Nashville and practiced. I think we were like 27th, and then in the race we finished 22nd. But I thought we ran really well, for where we are, and there's some things that we could both work on, and just building a notebook for the next races to come. So
Awesome. Oh, always good to expand on those for sure. Getting into the racing at Charlotte that you were just starting to talk about, a lot of waiting in the rain on this one, unfortunately, and both the truck race and the O'Reilly race that you're doing double duty for. No, they didn't go the truck race didn't go as planned in the 62, but on the O'Reilly side, you start 30th and make it up to 15th before the race was ended due to the rain. If you guys went the full distance, do you think you could have gotten in the top 10?
Yeah, I definitely think we could have maybe got close. I think that we could have probably beat the next 3 cars in front of us. Just because I thought we were really good, and where our lap times were and everything, we just kept pushing and pushing. But obviously, we didn't get to run as many laps as we wanted to, so that's always disappointing. And the whole Charlotte weekend for me was it was a disaster, right? Like obviously, the top 15 was awesome, but I knew we had more, which as a driver kind of sucks knowing you had more in the tank and you only finished 15th, and I felt like we could have probably finished 12th or 11th. So, I wanted more there, and obviously in the truck, like it didn't go as how I wanted, but I know the first stage went really, really well. I ran one truck race before in 2022 with Tyler Young, and we crashed on lap 5. So I wouldn't even count that as a truck race, to be honest with you. So, I would honestly say the truck race was really good. The first stage ran like 7th and 6th the whole first stage, and then got to cut a tire down, so that sucks. But just kind of ruined my day from there, and obviously the O'Reilly race went well, so it was It was an up and down weekend for me, I would say. Mentally, it was draining just because you sat at the track for all the hours that you had to be there because of NASCAR's protocols and stuff. So, that was a Charlotte weekend for me.
Long weekend for sure, especially you doing the double duty. You mentioned sponsorship and racing. It takes a little bit a little bit longer at the beginning of this year for you to get things ironed out. You mentioned like the 6 to 7 months waiting to get back into the car. As a driver and an athlete, like that waiting period, how do you stay focused on the main goal?
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing is when you watch the races and you're not in them, right? I think when you go to the track and I went to the track a bunch with Halmar earlier this year, just because I had some stuff signed and I knew I had a race coming up and I wanted to prepare. So I went to a bunch of races beforehand and especially the ones Christopher was racing and just watching and learning everything that I could. And I think that it takes more of something out of you when you go to the track and you're not racing and you want to race so bad. And it just goes to show how much, like it showed me how much I love racing, right? Like I've never known how much I love racing until like I haven't been in the car. I've always loved to race, but it really showed deep down how much I love to race when I wasn't in the car and how much I missed it. And just wanted to go back to it. So I really, really enjoyed being back in the race car and, ran some sim and stuff. So that was nice to get a feel back, before I got in the car. So, it's always good.
Awesome. Appreciate you being honest with that. And, great to see you back, behind the wheel as well. And, you said like really first truck race, in Charlotte. I mean, what's the biggest difference from a truck to an O'Reilly car as a driver?
Yeah, obviously it has more downforce and a lot more side force too. So, I don't know if you've seen, but in the truck, like the 13 laid it on my door and like literally right on my door. And in the O'Reilly's car last year, someone was like a foot off me and I got swooped around at Kansas, but I was able to save it. The truck, I was not able to save it whatsoever. Like I was already spun out before the time I knew it. Yep. And for me, that was, I knew that if that happened, that something like that would happen. I wasn't going to be able to save it. I didn't know I was going to be able to not save it, but we hit the inside wall and that kind of, I would say it ruined our day. It definitely took some speed out of the truck. So it just kind of, it completely pancaked the left side, so it wasn't ideal. But that's what I would say is just learning. The clean air, the dirty air. The dirty air is way worse in the truck than it is the Xfinity or O'Reilly car, and I think it's very important you're always searching for clean air, and especially I think if I ran a full season of trucks before I ran O'Reilly's, I think I'd learn a lot more. Just because I'd always be searching for clean air in the O'Reilly car. But, the whole headlight thing in the truck compared to the Xfinity car, I would say they're somewhat similar. But even if you miss it by just a little bit in the truck, it's a lot worse than it is in the O'Reilly's car. So.
Got it. Thank you for breaking that down. I've heard guys talk about the differences in the downforce, but not really breaking down the aerodynamics. So no, thank you for touching upon that. And you were mentioning Nashville last weekend, back in the '92 with DGM. Come home P22. What's it like getting around that concrete track there?
Yeah, for sure. Nashville's a really cool spot. It's always hot when you go there, always very, very, very humid, which is amazing, right? Love the weather. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it was a fun race. I love, practice went really well. I thought we were very consistent and we had speed just building long runs and stuff. So that was always good, and coming in for some adjustments, very little adjustments, by the way. Steve Addington's my crew chief, and he did a really good job. And it's been a pleasure working with him. But I think getting around there it's not easy. For us, there was one line that worked all night to be fast, and The car didn't like it as much, but I thought we all put forth an effort, and me and the crew chief, he more so was working on it, right? But just thinking of how we can get better, and telling him what I thought I needed, and he threw some swings at it, and we definitely kept getting better. But towards the end, we were he came over the radio with 20 to go, and he's like, we're a top 15 car, so we just kept trying to find speed. I found my line and what worked, and it just was so hard to pass. It was so hard, and I think that's one things that I don't like about Nashville is how hard it is to pass, because if you like Bristol, right, in the trucks, if you could be you can be in 15th place in a truck and come out first in a pit stop, and you could lead and possibly win the race, right? So I've seen it firsthand, and I think that's kind of how it is. And honestly, I think we've seen it this weekend, right, with Zane Smith and SVG in the Cup car, right? They stayed out on old tires, and they still put forth an effort, right? They're really good race car drivers, but still it goes to show that I think that track position really, really matters. So
definitely key at that one, just like you said with those guys in the Cup Series. Jake Garcia, I had him on the show last week, and he pre Nashville was saying he was expecting it really, really hard to pass, and from past races, I guess I just wasn't paying close attention to that. But yeah, totally agree with what you said. And last question, man, you've been in the car or different cars for a while. I mean, is there anything specifically kind of when you started ARCA to now where you think you made improvements, and anywhere feel like that you're still trying to make improvements for each race?
Yeah, I would definitely say I started running more dirt last year and in 2024 towards the end of the year, and I feel like that helped me honestly with my Xfinity skill, just because it showed me to be a little bit more aggressive. But I've learned, I've crashed a bunch in the Xfinity and O'Reilly series, and I guess you could say Xfinity series. I haven't crashed. Knock on wood, I haven't crashed in the O'Reilly series yet. Yeah. But the Xfinity series back then when I raced it, I've crashed a bunch, and I've learned, and I was aggressive then, and just being a smarter race car driver, and if you wait till the end, you'll have a good finish, right? But for me, I would say it was finding out to be a little bit more aggressive. I used to be more aggressive as a kid growing up, and I used to, push the limits a lot. And in the Xfinity stuff, money's tighter. You don't want to wreck. Obviously, you have a brand on the side of your car you have to represent, and you want to be there at the end and still get a good finish, no matter if the car's clean or not. And obviously, there's some stuff that's out of your control, and you might end up in a crash that's out of your control. So that's always unfortunate, but. For me, I found a in between where I can be aggressive and where I can stay, calm and be chill inside the race car, to where I'm not being overly aggressive and have something happen. So.
Got it. Sometimes it's trial by fire, but appreciate breaking down where you're at now, and how have you learned from your past experiences. And thank you so much for the time again, man. Really do appreciate it, and can't wait to see you back at the track soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one. Thanks, Leland.
Thanks, you too. Yep. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Great chatting with Leland. Hope you enjoyed that. Now for Tire Diaries, Michigan. The Goodyear Racing Eagle tire setup for this weekend's NASCAR races at Michigan pairs a familiar left side tire with a new right side tire, specifically for smooth D-shaped super speedways for the Cup Series. The left side tire has already been raced at 6 other high-speed ovals this season, including last weekend at Nashville, while the new right side tire features an updated construction designed specifically for Michigan's high speed and heavy loads. Truck Series will be running a familiar tire setup as well this weekend. This is the same setup teams used last month at Texas, along with the same left side tires used at Nashville and Charlotte in recent weeks. Goodyear Racing Eagles will also be in action on the NHRA side of things as they go to New England for the Nationals there. Now for the drivers to look out for at Michigan, starting with the ARCA Series. We'll start out with the 55 Nitro Motorsports Isabella Robusto. She's typically pretty quick. Laney Bice in the 77 should have speed as well. New Jerseyan Thomas Annunziata, also from Nitro Motorsports in the 70. Thomas should be contending. Andy J, winner this year from Talladega. Can he put the 71 towards the front? Guy that is showing out this year and up top in the point standings in the top 5, that's Ryan Vargas in the 91. Wesley Slimp in the 15. Expect a good run from him. Have seen him driving the 62 in the truck recently. Jake Bowman, points leader in the 20. The car that won last year, the 28, Connor Mozak is hopping in that one. He should be quick. And two guys a lot of people will be looking out for is Squirrel McNutt and Cletus McFarland. Now the drivers to look out for the Truck Series at Michigan. We start off with the guy that won the championship last year for the trucks, and that's none other than Corey Heim. He hops back in the 1 seat. Cletus McFarland will be doing double duty, ARCA and trucks. Grant Infinger came home second in this one last year. This veteran in the 9 should be contending. Corey LaJoy, even though the Rams have been underperforming in the 07, LaJoy finishes 5th in the trucks in Michigan. Can he get a hold of that draft and get the 10 towards the front? A guy that's going to be contending, just like his Tricon teammate Heim, and that's Caden Honeycutt in the 11. Giovanni Ruggiero in the 17, another Tricon truck that really should be quick. And can't forget about the guy that's won the last 2 races in the trucks, the 34 of Lane Riggs. Parker Kligerman is hopping in the 25 All-Star seat for Ram for Colleague Racing. That should be a good one to watch. And several full-time Cup Series drivers are hopping down for this one too. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Ross Chastain, Christopher Bell, Carson Hocevar. 2 other guys to look out for, of course, last year's winner in this one in the 52, Stuart Friesen, and Ben Rhodes in the 99. Ben finished 4th in this one last year. Now, the Cup Series drivers to look out for from Michigan. Kyle Busch finished 8th last year at Michigan. We know what Austin Hill can do in these drafting tracks. Can he get to 8 into the top 10? Ty Gibbs was 3rd in Michigan last year. Can the youngster have another chance of winning a Cup Series race? Does that happen in Michigan? Maybe. Just behind Gibbs last year, it was Bubba Wallace, 2311 Racing. Does Bubba have another top 5 day in store at Michigan? And staying on Team Toyota, 3 guys from Joe Gibbs to look out for. We start with the guy that won in Michigan last year and last weekend. That's Denny Hamlin. And guess the 2 drivers that finished 2nd and 3rd to Hamlin last weekend? His teammates, Christopher Bell, Chase Briscoe. On the Hendrick side, you got to look at Chase Elliott. Staying on Team Chevy, a driver that's been hot recently, that's Daniel Suarez. Also think Ross Chastain will have a solid run in the 1. And last but not least, the veteran Brad Keselowski, the Michigan native. Expect Brad to be contending as well. Now for Fast Davey's bets. Truck Series, Christopher Bell for a top 5 in the 62 truck is plus 110. Ty Gibbs, top 5 at Michigan Cup Series, plus 110 as well. I think both of those are good options. Now for trivia answer time. This episode's question is, Cale Yarborough won the first Cup Series race at Michigan International in June of 1969. Who was the first driver to win back-to-back Cup Series races at Michigan? Answer is David Pearson was the first driver to win back-to-back races at Michigan International, winning both races there in 72, and he actually won 3 races in a row as he won the 73 Cup Series race, as the track only hosted 1 race in 73. Now our predictions for Michigan. ARCA 28, I think it's victorious again in Michigan. Give me Connor Mozak. Trucks, it's a good amount of Cup Series talent in this one. Think a crafty veteran, Grant Infinger, gets it done. Brad Keselowski, Michigan native. Think Brad gets his first Cup Series win at his hometown track. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Brings us to the end of this one. Hope everyone has enjoyed. Till next time, Splash of Gas out.